He's one of the Premier League's greatest ever midfielders, and he's won almost everything there is to win in football. Best of all though, he did it all with a smile on his face. This is the story of N'Golo Kante, the footballer with zero haters. N'Golo Kante was born in 1991 to Malian parents in Paris. His upbringing was difficult, living in a small apartment in the Parisian suburb of Rueil-Maison with his 4 brothers and 4 sisters. His parents instilled a strong work ethic and determination in him, something later reflected in his style of play on the football pitch. Unfortunately, his father died when he was just 11 years old, and he was raised by his mother and his siblings. His football journey started at 10, when he joined JS Suresnes, where he would spend the next decade of his footballing career. Pierre Ville, the Suresnes club's secretary, recalls Kante's early time at the club. He used to come here with a large smile on his face to train quietly and just play football. He always had this little smile, living his simple little life. Pierre would drive Kante to trials at professional clubs to try and get him noticed. He knew Kante had talent that shouldn't be ignored. He would drive west to Rennes and Lorient, east to Sochaux, north to Beauvais and Amiens, and south to Clairefontaine. But it didn't matter. Nobody was interested in N'Golo Kante. The diminutive midfielder flew under the radar of the big clubs, more focused on finding the next Messi than the next Makelele. Coaches of the future World Cup winner could only suggest that his height and timidness were causing him to be overlooked, as his talent and work rate were undeniable. At the time in France, it was all about height and physique, says Piotr Wojtyła, Kante's first coach. The clubs didn't really look at a player's intelligence, it was more their physical, athletic profile. Suresnes president Jean-Pierre Parinel never gave up on Kante despite the rejections, and finally, it paid off. Parinel had arranged for a trial at Boulogne, and Kante managed to impress, and eventually was accepted. At the age of 19, N'Golo Kante finally joined his first professional club. N'Golo spent his first year at Boulogne playing for the reserves. Maxime Collin, a teammate of Kante, spoke about how the young midfielder initially rode a push scooter to training, despite the hilly topography of the town. Apparently, he wouldn't even accept lifts offered to him. Kante was played out of position in Boulogne. Pascal Planck, the manager, gave N'Golo, now 21, his professional debut at right wing in Boulogne's final game of the season in Ligue 2, having already been relegated to the French third tier. And it wasn't until new manager Georges Tournay came in the following season that it was decided that the tireless reserve Kante would be a natural in centre midfield. Kante would then play the most minutes of any outfielder in the team in the 2012-2013 season. During his time at Boulogne, Kante also finished a diploma in vocational accounting. He didn't know then the career he would go on to have, and the diploma provided him with security should football have not succeeded. His first full season with Boulogne caught the attention of SM Caen in the league above, who had just narrowly missed out on promotion to the French top division. Once again, Jean-Pierre Parinel was crucial in a big step up for N'Golo Kante. He convinced Caen's sporting director Alain Caveglia to go and watch Kante in Boulogne. After one visit, Caveglia was convinced. Kante joined Caen and played all 38 games as they achieved promotion to Ligue 1. His character made him loved by all at the club. It was as if everyone wanted to protect him. I've seen very few players, either during my playing career or after, who was loved by everyone like that, Caveglia stated. Kante had ditched the scooter now, but was still modest with his spending, getting a second-hand Renault Megane. The following year, he would play 37 games, missing just one game through suspension. This was the season that Kante began to get noticed outside of France. He had the most interceptions in Ligue 1 and made the most tackles in all of Europe. Marseille came close to signing the tireless midfielder, but Leicester City scout Steve Walsh convinced him to turn off his phone and essentially locked Kante in a hotel room in the Midlands for 3 days until a transfer to Leicester was completed. Claudio Ranieri took some convincing, but Leicester would sign N'Golo Kante for £5.6 million, and the rest, as they say, is history. N'Golo Kante was integral to the famous Leicester team that miraculously won the Premier League in 2016. Again, he made the most interceptions in the league and the most tackles in Europe. A player who had come from nowhere was now dominating Premier League midfields, seemingly single-handedly. Players would be scratching their heads and asking how he does it. He was so incredibly quiet, but read the game so well. It was like you were being ambushed, said Leicester teammate Mark Schwarzer. Even Sir Alex Ferguson remarked that Kante was the best player in the Premier League that season. And once again, Kante showed his modesty when he joined the Premier League. Most Premier League players have flashy sports cars or SUVs. Kante, though, opted instead for a Mini Cooper, as it was the easiest for him to learn to drive. A car that he would keep as he made his next move in football. At this stage, the big clubs were finally taking notice of N'Golo Kante. PSG, Arsenal and Spurs were all heavily linked, but it was Chelsea that would capture one of the most sought-after midfielders in world football. With Kante in their midfield, Chelsea went from 10th in the league to 1st in Kante's first season with the club, and he would be the recipient of all of the major individual Premier League awards after an incredible campaign. But, as is his character, he didn't take individual credit in his shy award speeches, always attributing the awards to his teammates. This made him the first player since Eric Cantona to win the league in back-to-back seasons with 2 different teams. Eden Hazard joked that he often believed that there were 2 Kantes on the pitch, a joke that would become attached and repeated for his entire career thanks to his hard work and tireless play style. Kante was often misunderstood to be a holding midfielder in his first seasons in the Premier League, but he was truly capable of everything. His highlights were his hard work, ability to win the ball back, and reading of the game. His relentless engine allowed his team to take more risks in possession, knowing that N'Golo could plug the gaps behind them. But his offensive contributions were often overlooked. He could springboard counter-attacks after winning the ball back with his passing, his quick bursts of dribbling unsettled defences, and while not being a threading playmaker or a rampant goal scorer, he was important in building his team's attacks. Quite simply, he was the most complete midfielder in the league. In the summer of 2018, Kante was invited to be part of France's World Cup squad. And it's only with France that we see something out of character for Kante. As previously stated, he's always regarded as a lovely and humble person. But French players will tell you of Kante the cheat. He cheats a lot at card games, board games. Honestly, I'm telling the truth. He cheats, said Paul Pogba, and it's something backed up by several French players too. Kante, of course, protests his innocence. I'm not a cheat, I'm a competitor, and those who lose like to give others a bad rap. Kante started every game of the 2018 World Cup, including playing the final despite having gastroenteritis as France won their 2nd World Cup. He was in the top 5 for most tackles and most blocks and had the joint most interceptions at the World Cup. Despite his huge contributions to his country's achievement, when it came to lifting the trophy, he was too shy to ask his teammates for the chance. Luckily though, teammates Steven and Zonzi made sure that N'Golo got his chance for the trophy. Not long after the World Cup, N'Golo Kante did something you'd never expect from an elite footballer. After missing the Eurostar home to visit his mum, he instead visited a mosque in King's Cross where he met an Arsenal fan who invited Kante to spend the evening with him and some friends. And he accepted. Videos of the midfielder playing FIFA and eating a curry watching Match of the Day in this stranger's living room went viral. Already beloved by fans of every club at this time, Kante validated the belief that he was the nicest man in football after this lovely moment with strangers. That same season, he helped Chelsea beat Arsenal in the Europa League final, despite having a knee injury going into the game. Unfortunately for Kante, this knee injury became the start of an injury-stricken time for the Frenchman. He missed 31 games for Chelsea and France in the 2019-20 season, and it felt like perhaps Kante's time was up. But when Thomas Tuchel arrived at Chelsea in 2021, N'Golo was prepared for one final swan song. Chelsea were in 9th place, so only the cup competitions were on the table for Tuchel's side. They lost in the finals of both the FA and League Cup, but in Europe was where Kante would spearhead Chelsea to a 2nd Champions League title. At home to Atletico Madrid, man of the match. Home and away to Real Madrid in the semi-finals, man of the match in both games. Champions League final against the Premier League champion City, man of the match. N'Golo Kante was now a Premier League, Champions League and World Cup winner. Unfortunately, Kante would return to being injury-stricken after this tremendous season. He missed 60 games in the following 2 seasons and would leave Chelsea on a free transfer at the end of the 22-23 season to join Saudi Arabian club Al Ittihad. He left Chelsea having won the Premier League, FA Cup, Europa League, Champions League, UEFA Super Cup and Club World Cup. He cemented his place as one of the best Premier League midfielders ever. And the best part of all, he did it all with a smile on his face. If you enjoyed this video and want to watch more like this, covering more than just the 90 minutes on the pitch, Be sure to check out the other videos on the channel and make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.